Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. And when I wanted to fabricate this carburetor flange, I very quickly ran into trouble. I found myself walking around in circles to basically put my hands on most of the tools you see in this pile and some of the tools down below and all. And I thought to myself, God, if I could get all this stuff in one place, it would be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I deliberately put a line at 2 foot. This square here is 2 foot by 2 foot, and even the stuff sitting down below. So, you know, when you have a hoard of stuff, it's handy because you buy a lot of things when you hit flea markets, because you look at it and you say, I know that fits a purpose, I just have to find that purpose and put it to that use. This is a medical cart. I mean, it's got some stuff stenciled to it, which can kind of give you perhaps an idea of what it did for a living. You can see there's a handle. It's got a thing there to hang some wires or something to. There's the people who made it. There's where it was made in the United Kingdom. So I kind of, you know, looked through the hoard and found this medical cart, and I'm looking at that pile of equipment and thinking to myself, God, if I could get all that stuff on there in just 2 foot by 2 foot, for 4 square feet, I have a lot of equipment that I can use to fix a lot of things, or to fabricate a lot of things, to make a lot of things happen. So let's take a few minutes arranging this and see what we come up with. So I took a few minutes to lay things out, to see the best way things are going to work and so forth. And this is more or less what I came up with. What I want is a workstation where I can do basically everything I need to kind of in one place. So obviously I got my sander there, my grinder, my small chop saw, which by the way for angle iron this is wonderful. Just got to go with the thin blade on it. Drill press and vise. Now I'm doing my best to lay this out such that the plane of the table for the little chop saw and the plane for the lower deck, the pedestal, are at the same level, right? That way this, right, there's no space here, right? I'm sitting flat on this pedestal, so to speak, but you can see I'm above on that one. So obviously we want to get this all in the same plane. I also want the vise out here so that you know, cut, drill, clamp. Right now I have the compressor on this side, and that might not stay like that. I might just move things around or spin this whole thing around so that the vise and the welder are closer together. Temporarily, I got one of these over the door hooks. This is a Dollar Tree $1 item, and you could see I hung 4 grinders on that. And I want to set up the plug outlet, the strip outlet, such that these wires also hang out of the way. I'm trying to keep this side of the cart and that side of the cart as clean as possible, and by clean I mean nothing sticking off. That way it's relatively narrow. With the table height this high, I can really get by most of these all-terrain vehicles. So that's my initial layout. There's a few things I need to do. Right now I just put this plywood right on top. I'm going to put some angle iron to support this whole thing better. Right? Because one really doesn't want to drop it when things go wrong. It does appear to be well made. These uprights appear to be welded on fairly well. I figure I probably have about 110 pounds on top, fairly well balanced, so I shouldn't have any trouble there. On the bottom, there's probably about another 100 pounds. Add the grinders. Let's say I put all of call it 240 to make the math go easy. That's about 60 pounds per caster, and those casters really look pretty good. So this is more or less what I've come up with so far, and once I put it all together, let's see how it ends up, what it looks like when it's done. Okay, before I commit to my final layout, I'm just going to, fabricate a few things on this as an example. So this seems to work well enough, right? I got the little leg on here that's off the table. It's all looking pretty good. Okay, as part of the build on this, and just to make sure everything works, I am going to kind of go around and try to use most of the tools on it. So, like, you don't want to leave that like that. Every time you walk by this thing, it'll draw blood. And it's not on you. If somebody else walks by it in your garage, it'll get them. So. Okay, time for a little belt sander action. Okay, drill press time. So my workstation tool cart, for all intents and purposes, is done. Is absolutely everything bolted down? The answer is no, because I'm not exactly sure where I want to keep everything. The welder and the compressor are on the bottom, and they're not plugged into anything yet. From the top point of view, obviously grinder, belt sander, mini chop saw, drill press, vise. I did put one bolt into the vise because this thing just wants to jump off and smash my toes, so we had to get that hooked up. I used it kind of the way it is, and everything seems to be working. Everything is pretty cool. But what I did notice very, very quickly is power cord management is not a trivial thing. There are 4 items on top that need to be plugged in, plus 3 grinders. That takes me to 7, and the 2 on the bottom, 8, 9. Probably there'll be another grinder here with a floppy wheel on it. So that's 10 items that get plugged in here. If I also set it up with a little bit of a pole in the center or whatever and put a light on it, that brings me to 11 items. So power cord management very quickly becomes a problem because you very quickly find yourself plugging and unplugging things like no tomorrow. This is a little 4-way. I think I got it at like Dollar Tree. So that took care of everything on top. I just have to plug it in once. Even on the grinders, I could put them into another 4-way. I have another one downstairs. They don't use much power, and you only use them one at a time. The compressor and the welder, that's a different thing. Quite honestly, they should almost be plugged in by themselves. This is that little rack thing, over the door rack, I got from Dollar Tree. You can see how I have it across and hooked up there and bent over and hooked up there, so it's not going anywhere. I once again, for most intents and purposes, I'm gonna call this done. There are a few things I gotta figure out exactly where I want to put that shelf. I'm probably going to drop it down a bit lower, and there's a second shelf right there. I got to figure out if I want to use that also. Good thing, if I put one of the shelves up pretty tight against the bottom, it'll get the least amount of dust and dirt on it. And you know, the lower shelf will kind of be a dirty shelf with all the grinding and so forth going on up here. But it works good. It rolls. I mean, you could see me just winging it about. The floor isn't the cleanest, which means it's got stuff to hop over. I can lock the wheels. I think there are just 2 of them that lock, if I recall. Yeah, so that one and that one. So there it is. And I just want to mention this. One of the things that slowed down this project is I kept looking at it and thinking about it and perhaps overthinking it. And if you're going to put together a project like this, don't let perfection become, you know, the thing that stops you, that makes it slow down, that makes it take absolutely forever. You really want to get it done, right? And if you spend all this time planning, buying, planning, you'll never get it done. At some point, you just got to say, do I own 4 casters? Do I own a bed frame or 2? And do I want to build this, right? It doesn't take much to go to Dollar Tree or to buy a couple of nuts and bolts, right? Hopefully, if you want to fabricate such a cart, you already have some tools floating around. I mean, from a cost of tools, the grinders, you could get them on sale for about 10 bucks each. Another 10 bucks get you a bunch of cutting wheels. You know, the cup comes out of a set, call it 20 bucks. I mean, this guy's somewhere around 30. The drill press is somewhere around 100. That little chop saw thing, I don't know, 30, right? You could buy the welder on sale for 100 bucks, the little compressor on sale for somewhere around 40. So it's not like you're tying up a whole load of coin in this whole thing. I mean, you put all those numbers together, you could put this fabrication station together for a couple of $100, right? And for a couple of $100, look at everything you could do. You can drill, cut, weld, grind, sand, hold on to something in a vise. You have a compressor for filling tires or running some air tools if that's what you want to do, right? You can, this small station does a lot of work for you. Folks, don't forget the protective wear for the eyes and the protective wear for the ears, right? You'll appreciate it as you get older. I've always been careful with my hearing, and I'm one of the few cousins who doesn't need to wear a hearing aid, right? So take care of your hearing. And about your eyes, after the 3rd time I went to the eye surgeon to get a piece of metal fished out of my eye, I decided that I'm going to wear protective wear. Let me tell you, you don't have to do it 3 times to figure out that wearing eye protection is a good idea, right? One of my closest friends lost an eye because he was splitting firewood and a piece of the axe. He was hitting an axe with a sledgehammer or a maul with a sledgehammer, and a little sliver went off into his eye. So, you know, safety third. All right. I want to thank everybody for watching and commenting and subscribing. Thank you for all your advice and guidance. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.